I have to tell you about a service that I've used for several years now. It's called Second Nature. Second Nature is air filters delivered when it's time to change them. Yes, air filters for your home. It's something you often forget about, like changing the batteries in your smoke detector. And if you're like me, you might have bad allergies and end up having allergens and other gross stuff floating around your homes when you forget to change your filters. Second Nature is a subscription service for air filters. Sign up and choose the exact filters you need at the quality level you want. Schedule your automatic deliveries and never stress about filters again. Plus, shipping is always free. Let me tell you, I have 2 different size filters in my home, and every few months my new filters arrive in the mail, and I never actually have to remember to go to the store and replace them, and remembering your filter sizes is always a pain too. Second Nature wants to give you your first shipment of filters for free. Yes, absolutely free if you sign up today. All you need to do is go to 99percentlocalpod.com/secondnature to get started. That's /SECONDNATURE.
Welcome to the 99% Loco Podcast.
Hey there, it's Chris Green, host of the 99% Local Podcast. This podcast exists because I love meeting new, interesting people and sharing stories of success and sometimes failures. The 99% Local Podcast brings stories from Middle Tennessee and Nashville-based entrepreneurs, business owners, organizations, side hustlers, musicians, authors, and anyone else that might be interesting and has a story to tell. Everybody has a story, their own unique upbringings, and passions for why they're doing what they're doing. As far as the name of the podcast goes, well, I think you'll be able to figure that out on your own. Hey, podcast family. Welcome to episode number 31. I'm sad to say that there are only 2 more episodes left in season 2 of this podcast after this episode. So I'm going to take a short break and come back early summer with new great guests and episodes. This week's episode is pretty special considering this upcoming Wednesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day. I should also mention it's my wife's birthday as well. To be completely honest with you, Earth Day was one of those days I only really remember doing anything impactful when I was in school, and I'm talking about grade school like 30 years ago. You know, we'd have an assembly and have a guest speaker talking about the environment, or we'd all go outside and plant trees, or we'd create some kind of recyclable craft. This week's guest has a really inspiring story and has really reminded me of the truth that every day is really Earth Day. Raven Hernandez joins the podcast to share her story that led to launching a new ride-sharing service app called Earth Rideshare that's 100% electric vehicle-based. That's right, zero-emission rides, point A to point B, carbon-free, on-demand rides. Similar to Uber and Lyft, just cleaner and more earth-friendly. I should also mention that a portion of each ride goes to tree planting in your city as well. I have to tell you, if I had the option to hop in a rideshare vehicle and it was a Tesla versus a minivan, first, I would love riding in style, and secondly, I would know I'm being transported in some of the safest cars in the world. Raven's passion for clean and healthy living does not stop there. Raven also runs a nonprofit called Feeding Growth Club that is focused on creating healthy lives for students in Tennessee and across the rest of the United States. So let's get to this very special pre-Earth Day episode. Here's my conversation with Raven Hernandez, founder and CEO of Earth Rideshare. So thanks for doing this, Raven, finally. I know we had been talking for a couple months and kept putting this off. And I know that when we originally scheduled this, you were impacted, I think, by the tornadoes back in first week of March, right?
Yeah, we didn't have power for about 8 days. So we were right in the middle of it.
So are you in the East Nashville area?
I'm on the other side of the river.
Okay.
So right on the other side where it crossed over, and it hit our neighbors pretty bad, everyone around us. And we're just very thankful that the dogs woke us up about 3.5 minutes before it hit.
Yeah. Wow. And I don't even think, you guys even have had time to recover from that after this whole COVID thing came upon us.
It's definitely, I think it's just tough knowing that we were preparing to help people and then that got put on the back burner. So sometimes when I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, gosh, there's still so many people around me that need assistance and I kind of feel stuck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we do this? Could you go ahead and just introduce yourself and in a nutshell, kind of tell me what you do and tell me about Earth Rideshare. And then later on here in the discussion, we'll dig a lot more into that.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm born and raised in Nashville, native Nashvilleian. I left 1 year and lived in Central America with some family in Panama, and then went and got my Juris Doctorate in California, where I met my husband, and moved back here to Tennessee. And, one of my really big passions is health. And a lot of people think that health is just food or just exercise, but it's the whole thing, it's the health of this earth as well. I can't be healthy if my atmosphere and my environment isn't healthy. And that's really what laid the foundation to start Earth Rides. Um, Car pollution is just, as we all know, is just a huge, huge component of impacting health, asthma and low air quality is just, it just impacts us all. And so we wanted to offer up something that could be practical, right? Everyone needs ride shares. That's just something that everyone's going to be continually using. But no one gives us an opportunity to make a eco-friendly decision. And so that's what Earth Rides is we use 100% electric vehicles in our fleet. We don't do any hybrids, gas, we don't compromise. And we really believe that with our mission, we're able to reduce carbon emissions. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. I'm sure we can dig deeper and you have some great questions prepared.
Yeah, yeah. So you said you're originally from Nashville. So what's I know you mentioned Panama. So is that kind of your heritage?
Yeah, my mother and my grandmother and my extended family are from Panama in an area that is very similar to Tennessee, actually. More rural in the sense of, horses and farmland and still major metropolitan, of course, but definitely a lot more rural. And so it kind of makes sense after living there for a year why my family, after they were in the military and they traveled around a lot and then they ended up in Clarksville and then my mother ended up moving to Nashville.
Okay. So you were in Nashville a while. You went out to California. You said did you go out there for college?
No, so I went to Lipscomb here in town and got studied philosophy and history, ethics, such things like that, and then went to law school in California. I went to Pepperdine Law, and it's where I received my JD. And just kind of always thought, well, if I'm going to move anywhere, it's not going to be somewhere cold. I'm not into that, and so California was just kind of the natural choice.
So you came back though. You didn't stay in
Yeah.
there at Pepperdine's in Malibu, right?
It is, yeah. Everyone asks me that. Everyone's like, "Why didn't you stay in LA?" And being from Nashville, and you, I think you take for granted all the luxuries that we have in the South. Right now I'm living in a house that's 3 bedroom, 2 car garage, front yard, backyard. In California, that's just not realistic, unless you've just got millions and millions sitting there. And even then, most of the time you're buying a house that's right on top of someone else's. So those things are really important to me. And air quality. The air quality in LA is pretty terrible, and unfortunately, most people don't know Nashville's looking pretty similar. So if you look at the air quality, most days Nashville is right up there with LA. So I wanted to come back because I felt like I could make an impact here with our air quality, with Earth, and just overall health more so than I could in LA. And I just love the pace of Nashville. I can have conversations like this with total strangers, where in LA it's a little bit more difficult to do.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm originally from Illinois, actually, and we just moved down here recently. So same thing. It's
What brought you down
Different.
here?
Uh, we just love the area down here, and just Illinois. It's kind of getting, overpriced, high
Hmm.
taxes, and
Hmm.
probably a lot of similarities to California, because I actually know a lot of people who are actually moving here from California now as well.
I know this the secret's out. I keep telling people like, "Oh, you're from Nashville. How is it?" I'm like, "Oh, it's not like it's nothing special. I mean, don't move here. It's no big deal."
Yeah, I kept hearing when we were moving here, we're full. No,
Yeah,
no one
yeah,
else can
we're
come.
full. We're
Yeah.
not taking any more applications. So, but we appreciate it. I think having different types of cultures, even though everyone's still from the U.S., but having those different types of backgrounds and ideas, and it's really expanded us in a good way. We have our first organic juice place now, which I think is amazing. Clean
Mm,
Juice, shout out to them. We love them. So yeah, we're excited to have you.
yeah. So
Thanks for being here.
thanks. So law school, you said, right? So did you end up going to practice law
So I do have
after you?
my license,
Yeah.
but I don't practice as an attorney. Although, of course, if someone wants to reach out and get some legal advice, I'm always happy to do so. I'm more focused on alternative dispute resolution. So mediation. I'm actually a practicing mediator in the juvenile courts here in Nashville. Are you familiar with mediation at all?
A little bit, but if you want to, just for those listeners that don't know, if you want to just share a little bit about that, what it
Yeah,
is.
so I mean, it's amazing. I never knew grow it's funny because looking back I realized I always had a little bit of a mediator in me, right? Like in middle school there'd be fights among friends and I'd try and get in the middle, and then next thing you know I'm being the one called to the principal's office. I'm like, wait, I was trying to stop this. But so mediation is really just less of an adversarial platform to resolve a dispute. So in a civil court where you have someone who's supposed to paint your house and you're supposed to pay them and they use the wrong color, so you're suing them. When they come into court, the judge feels like, hey, maybe you guys have the power to find a solution that works best for you. And so I come in as a mediator and facilitate that conversation as a neutral party. And what's great about that is it's all confidential. So a judge couldn't say, even if it falls apart or works out great, a judge couldn't later say, hey, well, what do they talk about? Because, now it's come back up, or, whatever the case may be. So it's really a great opportunity to have a trusted confidant who's not on your side, who's just really helping you talk through the problem and help you figure it
Hmm.
out. And it's really nice. It's a lot different than the usual litigator, in court trying to hammer out, you know, the details like that.
So let's jump forward. What led you down the path, that you're currently on, as far as, clean living and, an environmentally friendly lifestyle?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think like most people thought I was a healthy person. Oh, I go to the gym and I have my salads and I try to watch what I eat, and that's really not enough. To me now I understand that it's just not enough. So I was living, like I said, I was living in Panama for a year before law school. I deferred and I got a couple of vaccines because the CDC says that you're supposed to. So I did that, and then I went and lived down there, and I thought, okay, everything's cool. And the water quality I was drinking wasn't very good, and I was eating everything. I wasn't restricting because I thought, oh, I'm submersing myself into my family's culture. I'm just gonna just live it and breathe it, and no precautions. And I got really sick with the shots, with like a low immune system, and then the food. It just was like a catastrophe. And so for about 2 years, I was like direly ill. I mean, ridiculously ill. Doctors couldn't figure it out. In and out. I had several different specialists. I had to go to the emergency room. And it was so overwhelming because it was my first year of law school. And so I'm like trying to read 30, 50 pages a night, and I can barely keep my eyes open. I mean, just really excruciating. And so finally I got to my wits' end because they kept trying to give me these antibiotics that just didn't help. And I found a holistic doctor who still wasn't an MD, but she practiced more holistic health. And so I went to her, and within 3 minutes, all these other doctors are having me do these crazy exams that I won't get into. But within 3 minutes, she goes, okay, we're going to change your diet and you'll be fine. And I'm just like looking at her on the verge of tears. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's it? We're just going to change my diet and everything's going to be okay? And she's like, yeah. And so that's what I did. And it really makes you aware of all the things in our environment that are hurting us. Deodorants, perfumes, hand sanitizers. Yes, even hand sanitizers in the middle of COVID. Soaps, laundry detergents, bleach, the things you put in your yard, gasoline, right? All of these things are just chemicals that our body isn't meant to deal with. That's why you see, tumors, especially women, like breast cancer on the inner near the armpit, right? What's that close to? It's close to where you put your deodorant, and your body's absorbing that, and then it doesn't know what to do with it. Granted, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not professing to be, but it's definitely something that has become near and dear to my heart. And I want as many people as I know to live healthy and fulfilling lives because I've been sick, because I know how terrible it is to not have your health.
Yeah, that's so good. Good stuff. I have some more questions later on here about, some of the steps that you would recommend that, others or listeners could take, to live more sustainable lifestyles like you are. So let's dive right into the business aspects of what you're doing. So like with Earth Rides, where did that idea come from?
It was really born out of desire to do something that impacts a large amount of people and is also really positive on the environment, and a little bit of selfishness, right? Because I want to be healthy and I want my air to be clean. So I thought, how do I kind of force this upon other people in a very relaxed and attractive way? And so my husband and I were chatting about, different ideas, and the transportation industry is it's booming and it'll continue to be booming. But there's also a lot, especially, in Nashville, if you drive into Nashville during a normal, 4 to 6 p.m. kind of day, you're not getting anywhere, and it's going to continue to get worse, and there are no solutions on the table. And so we kind of thought, well, what's out there right now? And, there's Uber and Lyft and taxis, and some people have trains and metros and stuff like that. And we thought, well, what's the most sustainable way to travel right now? And to us, that's in a Tesla. There are other brands that we are really excited. Audi, Jaguar, they're coming out with some amazing things. VW is having this amazing bus. But right now, Tesla just has the best on the market. And so we thought, well, how awesome would it be if you land in a new city? Let's say you find a Nashville for a bachelor party and you want to get to your Airbnb. How amazing would it be if a Tesla could pick you up and take you there? And you're riding essentially in a zero carbon emissions car. You're literally doing your part to make the earth and the air cleaner. How amazing would that be? And so that's kind of how it was born. So what essentially it's Uber and Lyft with a mission. We expect people to want to ride with us for a couple of reasons. One, obviously that eco-friendly, but two, the quality. So every time you get in our car, it's high quality, it's clean, it's safe. Teslas are the safest on the market, but also the people behind the wheel are safe. So our drivers are employees. They're not independent contractors. And we do that for a couple different reasons. But one is because, the person behind the wheel is going to be more aware of the decisions that they make and more aware of how they need to take precautions if they're invested. And employers, they know that employees are more invested than independent contractors. And so those are a couple different ways that we're different and that we feel that we're offering a better product. And of course, we're not here to beat out Uber and Lyft. We're just here to offer another option. There's plenty of room in this space.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Pretty much ever since I started this podcast, I've been telling you about a service called Anchor. And if you hadn't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And who doesn't have a podcast these days? Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you truly need to make a podcast in one place. Here's what you need to do. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So you guys started, I think, technically late in 2019, right? And so have you actually officially launched?
Our launch was going to be Earth Day. So the app is ready. It can be downloaded, but we've waited to put it on the app stores just because with COVID, we thought, well, hey, this gives us a great opportunity to just really refine our design. Right now, we're doing local deliveries with our fleet just to help local farmers. So we've got some organic lettuce and vegetables and some grass-fed local beef and things like that we're helping deliver right now. So we'll be launching, I'd love to say a set date, but with COVID, we're making sure all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I was just kind of I've been out of the loop kind of, about Uber and Lyft with the whole COVID thing, if business has been down. Apparently, yes, it has. Yeah, I figured that's probably been affecting a little bit about what you're doing too. So, and you jumped ahead of me a little bit, but I was going to ask you about the what you're doing with Earth Food too now. You're kind of using your business to, pivot during this whole epidemic. So like you said, you're doing food delivery. Are you using employees to do that, or are you doing that yourself?
We're doing that ourselves at this time. We don't want to expose, we just want to limit exposure and really maintain quality control. We feel the best way we can do that is just with myself and my husband at the moment. So we're not doing a bunch of different people, just again, simply for quality control. And we also have relationships with these farmers, and, it's not anything overwhelming. We'd love for it to be for them, of course. But yeah, we're finding that people are really interested now in buying local produce now that they see, oh yeah, this could collapse and I couldn't buy food from regular chains. What would I do? And it's awesome because just like this podcast is all about buying local, being local. It's given that platform a really big opportunity to grow.
Yeah. Can you say what farmers you're working with?
Yes, I can. So Smoke and Oaks, they have a lot of different meat options that you can get. You can get them directly from them, or you could utilize us, and we help deliver those. We're also doing a farm that is in Adams, Tennessee. Charles Pekka and his wife, they have a farm that they grow everything hydroponic, and it's just, oh my gosh, the lettuce. You've never had this type of lettuce. It's called Morningstar Farms. They usually have their booth at the Nashville Farmers Market at Bicentennial Mall. But of course, with COVID, they've had to reduce that drastically. And so you can go wait in an hour or two line at the farmer's market in your car and pick them up. You have to pre-order, or you can order through us and we'll deliver it for you.
Since we moved down here to Tennessee, I love going to the farmer's market and just getting, that organic food. It's something that we really didn't have up in the Chicago area. Our go-to is the Franklin Farmer's Market. And I don't even know if they're doing that now with the whole COVID thing, or if they're doing the social distancing, but
they might be doing like pre-orders and things of that nature. I haven't been there. I'll definitely have to check it out once things get lifted. In Malibu, for any of your listeners who want to dream about Malibu, I had a farm that I would walk to. It's across from Point Doom. It's called Malibu Fig Ranch, and they have everything. It's a farm, right? So it's a farm stand, one farm, every single thing you can imagine. Dates, honey, lettuce, strawberries, oranges, potatoes, garlic, everything. And so I would just go there. I had a motorcycle at the time, and ride there on my motorcycle and grab a bunch of food. Sometimes I'd help Farmer Jack with some, one time I showed up around 5 p.m. looking to buy some food, didn't know if anyone would be there. And Farmer Jack's probably like 85. He's way back, like 5 acres back. And I kind of hear him honk the horn. He's like, hey. So I walk back there and he goes, man, I just knew somebody would come and help me. And I was thinking, what is he talking about? I was like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah, we got to shovel all this manure out of the bed of my truck before the sun goes down. So why don't you just grab a shovel? I was like, okay. All right, Farmer Jack, I got it. It's not what I came here to do, but I will do it. And, just amazing stuff like that, like connecting with the land is just, it's unbeatable,
Yep.
So good.
Yeah, that's great what you're doing here. Taking your business and then pivoting and doing these deliveries. That's just awesome. So
it's exciting. It's exciting to help the community.
And thank you for doing that for the community. I was going to transition now to you have a nonprofit as well called Feeding Growth Club, which you started. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. It's really been such a special thing. I never thought I would have in my life. It's funny how passions come along. Really, to me, passions kind of come out of necessity of something that you see a gap or something that just really fuels you, but you didn't know it fueled you. And food is kind of like that for me. And when I was in law school, I was consistently annoying the faculty and administration about the food. Hey, can we get something better than Pizza Hut or Chick-fil-A or Five Guys Burgers or In-N-Out or whatever it was? And finally they said, well, why don't you do something about it? I thought, me? Like, what do you mean me? I'm in law school. Like, I don't have time for this. And I said, yeah, here, take the weekly donut budget. We had a Friday donuts. Take that and buy the food you would buy. And so that kind of ruffled some of the students' feathers because there was no longer Friday donuts, but there was organic, local salads that had amazing, all these amazing ingredients. And then I brought blueberries and oranges and apples and just really high quality things that are going to get a law student through their day. And once I did that, a lot of people reached out and were thankful, which was kind of surprising because there was a lot of grumpy individuals too. But people were saying, thanks so much. I was going to have to leave campus to find something healthy, and it would have taken, the majority of my break and parking and all this. And so I'm really glad that I could walk out of class and you had all that food. Thank you so much. And I thought, this is awesome. I'm going to start making changes at the law school and really helping people. And I found out that that's a little bit harder than I expected, especially, with just bureaucracies and how things are structured. And so I kind of, again, pivoted and thought, well, who would be receptive of healthier food? Like who would really appreciate this? And immediately I thought of kids, and simply because I don't know if you know how recycling was started, but recycling was started via children. So school children were taught about recycling and they pestered their parents enough to where it became really a worldwide movement. And so I thought, well, we can do this with healthy food because kids get it. You don't have to convince a child that Cheetos and Gatorade is bad for you. You don't have to. They understand once you can explain it to them. Whereas adults were like, yeah, we know, we don't care. We're going to live once, whatever. Right. But with kids, it's totally different. And so I started speaking at schools about this, and they were really into it. And especially for kids that their parents aren't in tune with it. And so they have health issues already, 14-year-old girls who are obese, and they really don't understand why, because, they're saying, well, I work out every day. But again, right, that's not enough. It's the whole picture. And so I'm working with this school. It's called Lighthouse Christian School. It's in Antioch, Tennessee. I went there as a child, and their administration has just been so open to me coming in and saying, hey, let's change everything. And so I've gotten several grants, and we're working on building a school garden so that can provide healthy organic food to the cafeteria, and the students can be involved in it, because you're not going to care about what's on your plate unless you had a part in it. And so that has just been, such a blessing to watch kids impact their communities and their families and their parents. And, you impact a child and they grow up to be an adult, and that adult impacts their business place and their own family. And it just trickles into every water source. It's been really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your ultimate goal with that? Are you wanting to, obviously it sounds like, work with more schools to try to get healthier foods?
The ultimate goal, I always like to have a super big picture, because if you have a really big picture, then maybe even a small picture will be painted. So schools, prison systems, and businesses. And the idea behind schools and prison systems is those are two populations that we ask to show up as the best version of themselves every day, right? We're asking prisoners to change behaviors, be better citizens, and just really improve their overall life. We're asking students to learn and to develop all these different, cognitive abilities and handle their emotions well. But we're not providing either of those populations with the resources that they need. We're not providing them with clean water, with healthy food that gets them through the day so that they're not tired after lunch. We're not teaching them about breathing techniques and yoga and all these amazing resources that we have. And so I would love to have those two populations served. And then the businesses would assist in developing the other two branches, right? Business, let's say, off the top of my head, I can't, a business around town wants to have a healthier environment for their workers. So they pay for that service. And then that money goes towards helping students and prison populations. It's a big picture. So we'll see what gets painted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. I wanted to talk a little bit and pick your brain a little bit about more, your thoughts on living a more sustainable, environmentally friendly lifestyles, just, from your viewpoints and your experience, what others could do. So I did want to point out a couple things, because it looks like you're involved with some other organizations around Tennessee. One of them is the Tennessee Women in Green, which actually it looks like they had you as a featured member back in January, and had you on their website or on Facebook, and posted an interview with you as well. So what's that organization about?
They're an amazing group of women. I just was blown away. If anyone ever has the opportunity, they usually meet on Fridays, first Friday of the month, downtown at the Bridge building, which is right on the Cumberland River. Amazing venue, and 100 women or so. Men, of course, are also invited, but just really amazing women who are in this space. So Tennessee Women in Green, it's basically what it sounds like, sustainability and supporting eco-friendly things and such. But I mean, they're rock stars. But the original question you were saying was, being more sustainable. I think at the end of the day, it starts with your mindset. If you're not interested or committed or aware of your decisions, then saying, I'm going to be more sustainable, I'm going to recycle, it's not going to get very far with anything, right? If you want to commit to something, you really have to be thinking about it daily. And so that's what I encourage, anyone who's interested in being sustainable, is to really start paying attention to the decisions that you make. Something that we've taken on is what we buy. Is it organic, or, reused, or from a sustainable source? If it's not, we're not going to buy it. And that's tough, especially for someone who enjoys shopping. I would say I don't do it, but I do like to look online, and then I'm like, none of this is organic. This is all fast fashion. And so really just being aware of what you're buying, what it comes in. Going to the grocery store, you can buy a bag of apples, which is going to be in a plastic bag. Or you can buy apples that aren't in a plastic bag and put them in your reusable bag. That convenience portion of it is something that I think a lot of people miss out on. And it takes habit, right? You're gonna forget, or you're gonna be in a rush and you're not gonna want to do it. But really sitting down and thinking, this extra 10 seconds that I'm gonna spend with my life is going to impact the world for generations. Because that piece of plastic, is going to end up, and I've been there. I mean, when I was living in Panama, I was living on an island called Bastimentos in the archipelagos of Bocas del Toro, and I would walk the beach. And one side of the beach, I remember there was one flip flop, a disposable razor, a tampon applicator, just all this stuff, and that stuff wasn't even sold on that island. And so just to think about, okay, the next time I'm at the grocery store, I'm thinking about that beach because I really want to enjoy that beach. Who wants to
Yeah.
be on a beach that has trash? So just really thinking, really being cognizant of what you buy and how it's packaged and where it comes from. And then of course, do you need it? That's always the kicker is like, do you need it? Because if you don't, why buy it?
Well, great. So I got a couple other questions. And this one ties into another organization I saw you were doing work with last fall regarding planting trees. So just for the purpose of the listeners, well, let me step back. So I saw you were actually going around Nashville last fall with the Nashville Tree Foundation. You had posted some photos with Mayor Cooper as well. So just to the aspect of planting trees, what in general, what impact does that have on the environment? What are the benefits of planting trees that people might not realize?
Man, I mean, trees should be worshipped, and I say that jokingly, but really, trees are it breaks my heart, especially with the tornado. In my neighborhood, when I go for walks now, there are trees that have been chainsawed up because they fell all over the neighborhood. I mean, there's just hundreds of trees. So that's sad to see, but trees are our life source. If we continue to tear down trees at this rate, we are literally not going to be able to breathe. I mean, they produce oxygen and they keep carbon in the ground. So, for some of your listeners who are semi interested in air pollution and having a healthy earth, when you remove trees from the earth, that is basically pulling out carbon into the atmosphere. So soil contains carbon, and when you plant stuff into the surface, when you plant stuff like trees and flowers and all that, it helps carbon stay in the ground. So we want carb. So carbon is still a good thing, right? We hear like, oh, carbon so much, it's bad, it's terrible. But when it's in the ground, it's really good because it provides that breath of fresh air to our soil and to what we eat. So again, like without having carbon in the ground, we won't have food. And it just blows my mind, how short-sighted humans can be. We look at downtown Nashville and we make the joke of our bird is the crane, right? Because there's so many buildings being built, but none of those have any green aspects. And then you go to third world countries. I was in Colombia for some time, and there's all these amazing green components to these sky rises. And it's like, why can't we do that here? It's so important. Why don't we understand that trees are our life? It's so, yeah, it's amazing what National Tree Foundation is doing, and Cumberland Compact and so many different organizations, and they need your support and they need you to be aware of what they're doing and to care. And they're doing. I mean, they're planting hundreds of trees every year, and I'm so thankful that they are. But we need more than that. We definitely need more than that. So this is my shout out to go outside and plant trees during COVID-19.
Nice. So I have to ask, I was poking around on social media, and you had already mentioned this earlier on about the hand sanitizer. You had posted, I think it was actually on your own Instagram, about how the hand sanitizer is probably hurting a lot more than helping. Mm-hmm. And then you said, don't shoot the messenger. So, what, I guess my question would be, I was reading this, what would be considered a natural hand sanitizer?
That's a great question. There's a lot of different things that you can use. And it's so funny that you asked me this. I'm almost like, why did I do that? Because people don't want to hear this stuff. People are going to say, oh, right, you're a hippie or a tree hugger or whatever. And it's like, no, I like to live healthy. I like to be able to get up out of the bed and not have pain. I like to breathe. I like to run. I like to live a great life. And the only way to do that is to be healthy. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger, but hand sanitizers, there's a lot of chemicals in that stuff, and it's really weakening your immune system. So antibacterial things, let's see, lemon, eucalyptus, rosemary. You can use aloe vera, witch hazel. Witch hazel's awesome. That has some like alcohol type properties in it. Garlic. I mean, you should be eating garlic and ginger and turmeric every single day. That's just, that kills. So if you were to take something in, and again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying that this is going to save your life, because you might be doing a lot of other things that are impacting it in a negative way, but taking amazing things like garlic and ginger and turmeric every single day, it's just giving you a leg up, It's just helping you be better and stronger. Is it going to protect you in every scenario? Probably not. So let's not say that, but having things like that are going to help you a lot more than whatever the heck they're putting in hand sanitizer. I mean, you have to think, yeah, it might be killing the bad bacteria, but it's also 100% killing all the good bacteria that fights the bad bacteria. That's what you got to understand about bacteria, is that there's two sides. And when you kill bad bacteria, like with antibiotics, you're killing all that good bacteria. And oftentimes it harms you a lot more than it helps you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was for my benefit. No, that was for my benefit. I don't care if the listeners don't agree. Yeah. So, okay. So, when this episode comes out, Earth Day is going to be a couple days away on Wednesday, April 22nd, I believe. So, what is Raven Hernandez doing on Earth Day?
That's a great question. We've been looking at that, looking to see if there's any fun online things going on. And, I think for us, it's just going to be really maintaining what we already do. Right now in my house, I'm growing cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers so that I can, be self-sustainable, and promoting things like this and talking about natural ways to live your life, and having a yoga class with Small World Yoga online probably is what I'll be doing. And hopefully throwing baseball outside if it's a sunny day. But really just being thankful that I have the opportunity to live on Earth, where there's so many amazing different fruits and vegetables and amazing, inspiring people, and just, the innovation that we're living in right now is just amazing. And I can't wait to see what others are going to do in this eco space, because it's only going to get bigger. Eco renewable type jobs are only going to continue to come on the market, and it's just going to be amazing what our Earth looks like in 20 years. So I'm just thankful to be here for Earth 2020.
How can listeners learn about everything you're doing as far as Earth Rides and Earth Food, and if they want to learn about your nonprofit as well?
Yeah, so you could always go to earthrideshare.com, learn more about Earth Rides, and keep up to date with what we're doing. We're currently pitching to a strategic investor, so fingers crossed, it'll help us really expand a lot quicker than we anticipated. Feedinggrowthclub.com or feedinggrowthclub.org is there as well. I don't post there too much because I'm usually just doing the work, and I need to stay on top of that. Social media is a tough game because, again, that's not really that healthy either. So, it's a tough game to play, but, and of course, I love LinkedIn personally. It's a great space to connect for people who are serious about stuff. So Raven Hernandez on LinkedIn, I'm always happy to have a conversation that's open-minded, even if you don't agree and you have some amazing points. As long as we're having an open-minded conversation, I'll respect it and I'll love it and appreciate your insight. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this, Raven. I mean, your story is truly inspiring. I hope others find it that way as well.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, there you go. That was my discussion with Raven Hernandez, the founder and CEO of Earth Rideshare. I was really inspired by Raven's story, and I hope you were too. I'm really glad her and I finally found time to sit down and have that discussion about Earth Rideshare and everything else that she's doing around Nashville. Before we close out, as always, you can reach out to me via email at 99percentlocalpod@gmail.com, or if you want to interact with me on Facebook or Instagram, you can do that at 99percentlocalpod. And until next week, stay safe and stay healthy.